Mucus cells produce mucus, parietal cells secrete hydrogen and chloride ions, cheap cells secrete pepsinogen. Pepsinogen is enzymes, and then G cells secrete gastrin. Gastrin is a hormone. So mucus cells secrete mucus, parietal cells secrete hydrogen and chloride ions, cheap cells secrete pepsinogen, it's an enzyme, gastrin cells secrete gastrin. So gastrin is hormone, it's going to the blood. Mucus cells secrete mucus, parietal cells secrete hydrogen and chloride, cheap cells secrete pepsinogen, gastrin secrete gastrin hormone. Okay, then the mucus make a thick layer on the surface. Okay, this is mucus. Mucus layer. All right, so if we look under microscope, the surface of the stomach has this kind of a folding, and this actually represent the pits. Here, how it looks like, this is the long passage called the pit, and there's a gastric gland. And we can see the four cells, G cells or enteroendocrine cells. This one is from cheap cells, pepsinogen. Parietal cells, they secrete HC, it's not a, actually it's hydrogen and chloride. Mucus secrete mucin. The glycoprotein contain mucin secrete, right? So if you look another angle, again it's like this, and if you look at 3D shape, now you can see nicely these pits, they're like a holes, but if you look a cross section, now the pits is going down to make these glands. You know, the understanding and learning of human body, we need a lot of pictures, because you will realize the books are very expensive, the anatomy and human body atlas books, because they have to carefully make these pictures. It's not easy, not the text. They have to really make these pictures, draw the pictures. Maybe there is a computer software now. Somehow they are very expensive because they are very special. You cannot find even internet. You can't find good pictures because they don't publish usually because they are very expensive. Only way why they do this, because student can learn easily human body from the pictures. Otherwise, certain things are very difficult to understand by text. Memorizing and understanding the pictures are the best method. That's why I encourage you to write the short note, draw the pictures. Uh, Once it's in your mind, you have to little bit arrange this map of the resource book, what kind of a word they use, what kind of a thing they use, then it would be okay. Otherwise, it's not that easy always to handle things, right? All right. So again, come back to this place. We learn about the pits and the gastric gland and the cells. Next, we'll try to understand the function. Right now, to understand the function, first, these are again the epithelial cells. Now, these epithelial cells are protected with the mucus layer. So, epithelial cells are protected with the mucus layer. Now, look at here the parietal cells. The parietal cells secrete hydrogen ion and chloride ion. So, this hydrogen and chloride ion push up. So, it is coming, let's say, I'm drawing another picture. This represents the mucus layer, and this is the gastric pits. Heard of that. This is the end of the gastric pit, and we can see the cells lining the surface. Okay, now the hydrogen and chloride ion secreted from this parietal cell push upward, and they are moving to the up. So when enough hydrogen and chloride ion presence, they make the hydrochloric acid. So at this level, the top level, in the mucus layer, the pH is then 2. It's highly acidic, the pH 2, because hydrogen and chloride ion moving from the parietal cells. Then the pepsinogen is also moving Pepsinogen is produced. Pepsinogen is also moving up. Now, pepsinogen in the presence of hydrochloric acid convert into pepsin. Pepsinogen convert into pepsin. In the presence of hydrochloric acid, it converts into pepsin. Now, why this is important? If they produce pepsin, it's active form. Pepsin is active form of enzyme. And hydrochloric is also produced from the beginning. They can also digest the cells. Right? One hand, hydrochloric is very irritant. It's pH 2. If the cell release hydrochloric, then when it comes to the through the cells, it can damage the cells of this gastric pit. This is a gastric pit. So these cells can damage because they don't have a good mucus layer. Mucus layer on the surface, we have a good mucus layer. The surface is protective. That's why hydrogen and chloride ion moving up, when they have enough, they make hydrochloric acid. The pepsinogen is also inactive. Otherwise, pepsinogen can also damage the cells because they can digest protein. When the pepsin is going to the top layer, in the mucus layer, then they are converted into pepsin. And this mucus layer is protective. It doesn't damage these cells in this place. But I think you heard that people who have gastritis like problems, they are largely the mucus layer is damaged. Maybe they don't secrete enough mucus, or maybe have an altered secretion of pepsinogen or hydrochloric acid. So it could be any place in this mechanism. If it is changed, they have the severe problem of gastritis. Some people they have very severe gastritis because they have a very burning sensation because enzymes and then hydrochloric acid start to digest the tissues, which make a pain, and also it make a wound. So they can't eat food. They cannot eat certain kind of food. They can only eat limited kind of food. So they have so much of issues if this mechanism is altered or changed. But it's very hard from person to person what would be the exact error in this secretion of pepsinogen and hydrochloric acids. So this mechanism is well controlled, so it doesn't hydrochloric acid or pepsin cannot digest the cells. So first digestion start them protein convert into protein convert into fragments of peptide. The protein mostly the structure is a tertiary structure, globular shape. So we learn the primary, secondary, tertiary structure of proteins. Most of the proteins they exist in the tertiary structure. So then these proteins start to make its polypeptides like this, long chains, fragment of chains, are peptides. So we could just write polypeptide, fragments of polypeptide. Okay, then next thing, it has also another function, can absorb. It's very good in because it's large surface area. It's very good in absorb. Not everything, mostly in the form of liquid, like water. I know some people when they just take one glass of alcohol, so they immediately get effect. Maybe after 5 minutes they get effect because of alcohol also absorbed from the stomach and some drugs, water, alcohol, drugs. These can absorb. So this is the digestion. This is absorption, and the other one, this pH and hydrochloric acid also kill bacteria or pathogen, right? If pathogen disease causing agent trying to enter through the food, then this is the first line of defense. So they can't enter into the body. Hydrochloric acid can destroy. So it's a defense. So even you eat anything without washing hands, that's not a big issue because even we use soap and everything to clean our hand, but this is very powerful mechanism. Hydrochloric acid pH 2 can completely destroy the organisms. Okay, so what we give this picture, function of function, right? So equals of function of the stomach. This is the structure. You see, if you have a nice notes like this, it might take only 5 minutes to revise. So you need to prepare yourself this kind of a thing. I mean, you can do much better because I use the digital pads and everything. They are not smooth as your the hands and papers because hands and papers you can make very nice drawings. So they are very important for remembering because even you go to the medical faculties, learning anatomy like things, you have to depend on a lot of drawings, pictures, and your own notes. So you can practice this kind of a thing at this level. This habit will go on then. Okay, structure, function. Yes, I think we did all function, no? So digestion, absorption, and defense. Okay, there are more, but I'm not going. I'm not having these thing. We only limited our knowledge to 100%. Little bit sometimes we expand for understanding purposes. It's a resource book. Whatever in the resource book, only we learn that, and for sometimes the explanation purpose, we have to add few things for certain places, and we have to add something new if they ask previously in the questions, like the past papers which is not in the resource book, but there's a question out of the resource book, then this kind of a thing we gathered and we add, right? So this is enough for the stomach. There are other factors also they secrete, but they are not important to learn, right? Okay, then we last thing of the stomach, control. Some of the control system of the stomach. Uh, one control system is uh, that we have to learn here is the function of this hormone gastrin. Okay, you have seen previously the glands which has this kind of cells called G cells, enteroendocrine cells. They secrete gastrin directly to the blood. Okay, gastrin has one important function: regulation of hydrochloric acid secretion. So hydrochloric acid secretion is one thing, and the other one is the stomach movements, movement of the stomach. So that's a regulation of stomach, the role of gastric. So finally, the mechanical digestion take place because the muscles little bit can grind the food. It's not very strong as other animals, because if you look chicken, they have a gizzard. This very hard stomach-like structures gizzard. This gizzard is good for the grinding purpose. They have sand inside the gizzard and they grind the food. So we don't have that kind of a thing, but we don't call grinding. So this mechanical digestion is called a churning action, and it has also chemical digestion. That is pepsin, right? Pepsin. So partly digested food is called chyme, which is slightly acidic. The chyme is acidic because of the hydrochloric acid. Okay, come back. back to again. So pharynx, then we learn about the peristalsis and the esophagus, and then we learn the stomach and overall the alimentary canal and digestive system, then pancreas, stomach and its function and regulation. After that, in summary, mechanical and chemical digestion both happen, and partly digested food is called chyme, which is acidic. Then the chyme is moving to the next level, small intestine. Okay, now in a small intestine, we can also find the folding to increase the surface area. But if you look in the 3D models, here it is more into the inside. So we don't see some kind of a the projection, upward projection. It's more into the anatomy is more into the surface. Oh, share screen. When it comes to the small intestine, we could find opposite of this. So how it looks like then, it's not going to the down, it's going to the up then. Right? So the foldings are more like upward, like this, and then a little bit down is also observed like this, and mostly it's going up. So we can see this kind of a projections to increase the surface area, and as usual, it is covered with epithelial cells. And this kind of a projections are called villi. They are not pits, we call villi. And most of the time, if we analyze using a microscope, the cells in this place, for example, we take one cell from this place and we look on the microscope, we can further find the cells, epithelial cells, also make a projection like this. These projections are called microvilli. It's double AI, right? Microvilli. And still, like in the stomach, we can find the glands. And most of these projections, villi, has a very rich blood supply, the capillaries. You will see why capillaries are important, because most of the absorption into the blood take place in the small intestine. That's why they have a blood supply. And there is another separate absorption surface we can find like this. If I draw both blood vessels and this, like this, the capillaries make the connection like this. And the blue color one in the middle is called lacteal. So lacteal is a part of the lymphatic system. So we have a blood circulatory system, and there is a parallel tubes running to make the lymphatic system. There is a lymph fluid is drained through this lymphatic system. Okay, this is the structure of the small intestine. And small intestine, not like a stomach, they get a help from pancreas and liver to get more different kind of chemicals. They also produce chemicals, enzymes, but then liver and pancreas also provide support for the digestion. So we look again. Yeah, this is the appearance of a large intestine. So this villi, when we cut the cross section, we can see villi like this, for example, like this. And if you look, its inside structure. So villi has this tiny microvilli on the surface of the cell, and it has a good blood supply. So middle is the lacteal duct, this one in the middle, and then blood supply. And when it comes to the down base, we have this the gland, intestinal gland. This part represents the intestinal gland. Okay, then if we look, what are the cells like in stomach? Most of the cells are important for the absorption, right? So they also have cells which produce mucus. Mucus producing cells, most are adapted for absorption. And enzyme secretion cells and hormone secretion cells. So, not like a stomach, we are not very specific to find where exactly these cells and how they work because the major function is absorption. And pancreas also send enzymes, and other side the liver also sends some chemicals, and intestine also produce some enzymes from this, especially the glands, right? Okay, represent this area. They are more responsible to produce the enzymes and hormone. And the top cells villi more adapted for the absorption. Okay, so we have completed the structure of the intestine, and previously we learned it is divided into three parts: duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. Duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. First part is the duodenum, second part is jejunum, last part is the ileum. And now we learn it's a micro appearance, and I think next time we will learn the function and regulation. It's easy to learn if we divide into a structure, function, and the regulation. So we also divide the small intestine into structure, function. Next week we learn function there. Okay, I'm going to stop the class, and we'll meet again next time. If you can't do this test on 24/7, let me know. We'll fix another time for those, right? Okay, see you then. Take care.